Hey everybody, welcome back to Listography. Jason, Joe, and Krams are here, and today we are coming at you with a record review. We are talking about the new Paul McCartney album, McCartney III. Any longtime viewers of the channel are probably well aware that I'm a massive Beatles and McCartney fan. So this is pretty highly anticipated for me. However, I wasn't a big fan of his last record, Egypt Station. So McCartney III, for anyone who's not aware, the McCartney series, McCartney I, II, and III are all records that he basically recorded in isolation by himself. He plays all the instruments on these records. So that's kind of why they're given the numbers, and even though it's not his third solo album, obviously. So it's kind of a continuation of a series for him. Obviously, it was sort of brought about by quarantine and lockdown and sort of being forced into his studio. What are your guys' initial thoughts?
I
didn't mean 2 thumbs down. It's not really bad. I thought it was just not very good.
I liked it. I mean, I'm not very familiar with Paul McCartney's discography because I always kind of found it wanting. You know, it's so hard for me to separate McCartney from the Beatles. And there always just seems to be a little bit missing for me. You know, I like plenty of his singles, but I haven't listened to an entire McCartney like solo sans Beatles album since like Back to the Egg was probably as far as I ever got. I don't know. It's hard to like compare this to like a Wings album. It's just sort of a different. I think he's going for something completely different here. You know, McCartney II seemed to be all about like experimenting with synths and sort of, you know, that DIY approach. And I guess so was McCartney I. But this one seems, you know, maybe I'm just missing like a theme to this one. And maybe Jason can discern it for us.
I don't know if there's really a theme here. I think there's some pluses and minuses on this record. I think I do like the production on it. I think it's a good sounding record, and there's some like cool stuff happening in the music. The big minus though is the songwriting. It's not very good. And another big minus is his vocals have basically deteriorated to nothing, to the point where he can't even write interesting melodies because he's not able to sing more than like a 2-note range. And that's pretty disappointing for someone that you consider the greatest songwriter of all time. I mean, we had our Better to Burn Out or Fade Away discussion a while ago, and consensus between us and the viewers seemed to be that it was better to fade away. But I think McCartney's proving to be like a good example of maybe why that's not the case. It's, you know, difficult to watch where his voice has gone. His sort of old man voice isn't working the way it works for Dylan or Leonard Cohen or someone like that.
Yeah, and I don't want to be ageist at all, but for one, there have been plenty of people of his age category that have put out pretty good records this year. And Jason was saying that he can't really, the vocals are pretty lackluster on this. I actually kind of like when he does the layered falsettos more than when he's doing his deep stuff. And there's a couple of songs and a couple of words and phrases here where it just really sounds like he's enunciating words really peculiarly, and just like you can kind of, I don't want to be vulgar, but see like his old man lips just kind of like morphing to kind of shape these words, and it doesn't really come out well. But I didn't hate this album. I don't have, like Joe, a lot of familiarity with his stuff. I know Ram from going back through albums of the year. I know a couple Wings albums, and then randomly the 2 he had in the mid-2000s. I can't talk about this as a trilogy because I never listened to 1 or 2, but I did think that it suffers from the problem I get with a lot of Paul stuff. Obviously, he's got some exceptions. He's got some amazing songs, but Jason says potentially one of the greatest songwriters of all time. Aside from his Beatles work, I don't see it at all. I think his stuff is incredibly just too casual at times. It doesn't have a lot of emotion in it, especially considering the fact that we just recently did John Lennon's discography. It's like night and day with like the heartstrings for me. I don't get a lot out of McCartney's writing. I think it's impressive at times. I think it's really impressive that, you know, all the instrumentation is done by him, but, you know, to be honest, it would sound better with other musicians probably. And I'm surprised you like the production on this album. I wouldn't say it's bad. I'd say it's pretty unremarkable, except for some of the horns on some of the songs sound terrible to me, which I'm surprised you're letting slide because I really thought they sounded cheesy and terrible. But yeah, I could go through track by track in a little bit, but yeah, I'm gonna say this is a 2.5 out of 5 stars for me, and only the extra half because I do think there's 2 pretty interesting songs on here, and the rest is just nothing for me.
Now, I do like the sound, like Jason. I like the production. I like the sound of the like steel string guitar, especially just the echo and the reverb on it. I think sounds really cool. I like most of the music. I think Slidin', which is kind of reminds me of Helter Skelter-ish, you know, a little grungier, a little harder. I think is pretty darn cool. My biggest problem is just kind of the hokey lyrics on something like Lavatory Lil and Find My Way and
Pretty Boys.
Yeah, it's just a little too, I don't know, there's one on Deep Down, you know, when he's singing Party Every Night, it's kind of the same thing I thought about Deep Purple, where it's just like, it just sounds weird coming from him at this stage of his life. I know it's like Kramsey said, a little ageist maybe, but I don't know, the lyrics I don't love, but there are some cool songs. Seize the Day, Kiss of Venus, and Slidin', I think are all really good. I like the sound of Long-Tailed Winter Bird. I think it's a cool, mostly acoustic kind of jam. But it's hit or miss. I liked it more than Kramser. It's like almost a 3.5. It's between 3 and 3.5 stars for me.
You said the lyrics were kind of hokey, and what was it Lennon used to call him out? Said he had like old man rock vibes or whatever.
Yeah, he called it his granny music.
Yeah, how it feels, especially like the real McCartney-esque jaunting, gallopy stuff. Like Lavatory Lil is, yeah, exactly right on the nose with that. I'm with you on the songs that you like the most. I'd say Slidin' is pretty good. It's like a big anthemic sounding muscular rock song, but it's like it's really tightly written. It's pretty good. Seize the Day is good. That's probably has my favorite production on it because it sounds sort of 70s glamish. The guitars kind of remind me of Mott the Hoople a good bit. But to me, the big standout is the epic right in the middle, Deep, Deep Feelin', which I think is the only song on it that has something interesting to say about, you know, the feeling you get when you fall in love with someone so hard. And he says, you know, sometimes I want it to say, sometimes I want it to go away. But at the same time, I think it sounds really weird when he goes deep, deep feeling. And just like, I don't know. Yeah, the vocals, he just doesn't pack a lot of punch for me.
My favorite tracks, probably Deep, Deep Feeling and Deep Down. I like the really fat bass on Deep Down. I think that's a cool track. Kiss of Venus is pretty good. Maybe the most well-written song, even though the arrangement is kind of sparse and bare and doesn't do a lot for me. Yeah, I don't know. His voice started to really not do it for me, starting with the last record on Egypt Station, maybe even a little bit going all the way back to New. That's when it really started to decline. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's weird. I love his voice normally, but on these last few records, like, I don't even find it enjoyable to listen to at all, hearing his voice. It's kind of strange. If I'm giving it a star ranking, I'm probably going to go around where Kram is with 2.5, I think.
Harsh, you know, it is getting good reviews as well.
It is.
Sort of like the Costello record that we sort of were underwhelmed by. This one's, you know, a lot of 4 out of 5 stars. I'm seeing B's from the AV Club, Entertainment Weekly. So,
well,
maybe are we out of touch? Are we the out of touch ones?
There's a couple of things happening. I think McCartney gets a little bit of a pass from a lot of reviewers because he's McCartney. That is bound to happen. And like I said at the beginning of the video, there are some good things happening here. I think the feel of the record is kind of cool, how it's kind of just like him in his studio tossing off ideas. And the songs aren't necessarily meant to be that deep, but the execution just isn't quite up to par.
Yeah, and I really don't like the book ending with the, what is it called, Winter Windtail or...
Long-tailed Winter Bird. I think it's a cool little musical idea. It would have worked if it was like a 30-second intro track, but the fact that it's 5 minutes long is totally unnecessary.
Yeah, and yeah, like I said before, I like some of the parts where his higher falsetto is layered in like some choruses, some like catchy choruses. That works for me, but like on a song like Kiss of Venus, where it's just kind of him hanging himself out to dry there, I don't think it works too well. Some of the rhymes on Pretty Boys seem really hokey, and yeah, just obviously not his best songwriting. But those 3 songs that I mentioned, I really did like a lot and have gone back to a couple times. Yeah, really dug Deep Feeling. But and as far as Deep Down goes, I don't know. This one sticks out like a sore thumb to me because it's like it is kind of funky and kind of cool, but kind of like what Joe was saying. Like, is this something he should be doing authentically? He almost sounds like Donald Fagen at times singing it. It's like he heard Reflector by Arcade Fire and was like, I kind of like this. I want to emulate this. It's like sort of that 70s R&B disco feel to it at times. And I didn't hate it. It's just like, it was just kind of like, I don't know.
I think this record, I do like this more than Egypt Station, just by virtue of the fact that it doesn't have a track like Fi You on it, which was the worst song in his whole catalog, and so cringy. I don't know. It's all right. If you're a huge McCartney fan, give it a listen. It's got some moments on it that are worthwhile, but it's not going to climb towards the top of my favorite McCartney albums anytime soon. But anyways, let us know what you think down in the comments. If you've heard this record, how you feeling about it? Let us know. Hit the like button. Hit subscribe if you have not yet, and hit the bell so they get notifications when our new videos come out. And check down in the description for links to all of our social media accounts. We will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.